Have you ever noticed that two people can be given the exact same opportunity, yet one builds a remarkable life from it, while the other lets it slip away? Many people look at that and say, he was lucky, or she was just in the right place at the right time. But if you study success closely, you'll discover something fascinating. Timing certainly matters, but timing alone has never created lasting success. What truly makes the difference is preparation. Imagine a farmer standing in his field. He doesn't wait until harvest season to begin his work. He doesn't see crops magically appear because the calendar says it's time. Months before the harvest, he prepares the soil. He removes the rocks. He plants the seeds. He waters them consistently. He protects them from weeds. Then, when the season arrives, the harvest simply reflects the work that was done long before anyone could see the results. Success works exactly the same way. Too many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect opportunity while ignoring the perfect preparation. They say, when I get the promotion, I'll learn leadership. When I start my business, I'll study finance. When I become successful, I'll develop confidence. But life rarely works in that order. The opportunity usually arrives after you've become the person capable of handling it, not before. Preparation is one of those invisible investments that nobody applauds in the beginning. No one notices the books you read after a long day at work. No one sees the extra skills you practice while others are watching television. No one celebrates the discipline it takes to wake up early, improve your health, sharpen your communication, or strengthen your character. Yet those quiet moments are shaping the future version of you. They are building the foundation that success will eventually stand upon. Think about an athlete preparing for a championship. The crowd only sees the final performance. They see the trophy lifted into the air. They cheer for the victory. But the real story happened long before the stadium lights came on. It happened during the early morning workouts, the repeated failures, the disciplined nutrition, and the endless practice sessions when no one was watching. The championship wasn't won on game day. It was won in preparation. Life offers opportunities in much the same way. Sometimes they knock quietly. Sometimes they appear unexpectedly. A conversation introduces you to the right person. A manager suddenly asks who is ready for a leadership role. A client offers you a larger project. A business idea appears in a moment when you least expect it. The question isn't whether opportunities will come. The real question is, will you be ready when they do? Many people miss extraordinary opportunities because they spent years preparing excuses instead of preparing themselves. Excuses are comfortable because they remove responsibility. Preparation demands responsibility. It asks you to improve before you have proof that your efforts will pay off. It requires faith that today's discipline will create tomorrow's opportunity. Here's something worth remembering. Your future is often decided before the opportunity arrives. It is decided by the habits you practice every single day. If you develop integrity before success comes, success becomes easier to sustain. If you develop wisdom before wealth arrives, wealth becomes easier to manage. If you develop discipline before freedom comes, freedom becomes far more rewarding. Personal development is never wasted. Every book you read expands your thinking. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your resilience. Every conversation teaches you something about people. Every setback develops patience. Even when it feels like nothing is changing on the outside, something powerful is happening on the inside. You are becoming prepared. And here's the beautiful part about preparation. It gives you confidence. Confidence doesn't come from hoping everything will work out. It comes from knowing you've done the work. When opportunity finally appears, prepared people don't panic. They don't wonder if they're good enough. They simply step forward because they have already invested in becoming capable. So instead of asking, when will my opportunity come? Perhaps a better question is, who am I becoming while I wait? Because waiting doesn't have to mean standing still. Waiting can be a season of growth, learning, improving, and becoming stronger. When you use your waiting season wisely, opportunity stops feeling like luck and starts feeling like the natural result of your preparation. The people who seem to have perfect timing are often the ones who spent years preparing for a moment no one else believed was coming. And when that moment finally arrived, they didn't have to scramble to get ready. They were already ready. So before you ask life for a bigger opportunity, ask yourself if you're becoming a bigger person. Because preparation is what turns an ordinary moment into an extraordinary breakthrough. And the opportunities you are hoping for tomorrow are being earned by the choices you make today. And once you've committed yourself to preparing every day, you'll begin to understand that life unfolds in seasons, and each season has its own purpose. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that every season of life should look the same. We expect constant progress, constant rewards, constant victories, and constant certainty. But life has never worked that way. Nature itself teaches us a different lesson. There is a time to plant, a time to nurture, a time to wait, and a time to harvest. If you tried to harvest the day after planting a seed, you would call it impossible. Yet many people expect that very thing from their own lives. They begin working toward a dream and become discouraged because success doesn't appear immediately. The truth is, every season has a purpose. Even the ones you don't enjoy, there are seasons when life seems full of excitement. New opportunities arrive, doors begin to open, and everything appears to move quickly. Then there are seasons when nothing seems to happen. You continue working hard, but the results are invisible. It feels as though you're standing still while everyone else is moving ahead. Those quiet seasons are often the ones people misunderstand the most. Just because you cannot see progress doesn't mean progress isn't happening. Think about a tree during winter. To someone passing by, it looks lifeless. The branches are bare. There are no flowers. There is no fruit. It appears as though nothing is taking place. But beneath the surface, the roots are growing deeper, becoming stronger, preparing the tree for another season of growth. If you judged the tree only by what you could see, you would completely misunderstand what was happening. People are much the same way. There are seasons when your greatest growth happens internally. Your patience is growing, your character is becoming stronger, your wisdom is expanding, your perspective is changing. None of these things are visible to the outside world, yet they prepare you for responsibilities that you could not handle before. This is why comparing your timeline to someone else's is so dangerous. You see someone receiving recognition, building wealth, launching a successful business, or achieving a dream, and you begin wondering why your life isn't moving at the same speed. But you don't know what season they're in. You didn't witness the years of preparation they may have gone through. You don't know the sacrifices they made, the failures they endured, or the lessons they learned before reaching that point. Comparison steals your appreciation for your own journey. Your life isn't supposed to unfold exactly like anyone else's. Every person has a unique path, unique challenges, and unique lessons to learn. Some people bloom early. Others bloom later. Some experience rapid success followed by difficult seasons. Others spend years growing quietly before everything begins to come together. Neither journey is wrong. The important thing is to remain faithful to the season you're in. If you're in a season of learning, don't rush it. Learn everything you can. If you're in a season of building, focus on creating a solid foundation. If you're facing challenges, allow those experiences to develop resilience instead of resentment. Every season is preparing you for the next one. Many people quit simply because they misinterpret the season they're experiencing. They mistake waiting for failure. They mistake slow progress for no progress. They mistake temporary difficulty for permanent defeat. But timing isn't about forcing life to move faster. Timing is about understanding that growth follows a process. Imagine reading only one chapter of a great book and deciding you already know how it ends. That wouldn't make sense. Yet people often judge their entire future based on one difficult chapter of life. A temporary setback becomes a permanent conclusion in their minds. But life keeps turning pages. New opportunities appear. New lessons arrive. New seasons begin. When you understand this, patience becomes easier. You stop fighting the process and start trusting it. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What is this season trying to teach me?" That single shift in perspective can transform frustration into growth. Remember, seasons never last forever. Winter gives way to spring. Spring leads to summer. Summer eventually becomes harvest. If you stay committed during the difficult seasons, they eventually produce rewards you couldn't have imagined when you first began. So wherever you find yourself today, embrace your season. Learn from it, grow through it, make the most of it. Because the quality of your next season will often depend on how faithfully you live through the one you're experiencing now. And once you understand the value of every season, you'll realize that it's the small, consistent actions you take each day that eventually create the perfect timing for success. Once you begin to appreciate that every season has a purpose, another important truth becomes clear. The future is rarely shaped by one dramatic moment. It is shaped by the small choices you make every single day. People often imagine success as one big breakthrough, one lucky opportunity, or one life-changing event. But if you look closely at the lives of truly successful people, you'll discover that their greatest achievements were built one ordinary day at a time. It's easy to admire the person standing on the mountain. It's much harder to appreciate the thousands of steps they took to get there. Those steps weren't exciting. Many of them probably felt repetitive, unnoticed, and even boring. Yet every single one mattered. This is where many people lose their way. They underestimate the power of consistency, because consistency doesn't produce instant excitement. Reading 10 pages of a good book today may not seem significant. Saving a small amount of money this week may not seem impressive. Exercising for 30 minutes may not transform your body overnight. Improving one skill for an hour today may not immediately change your career. But repeat those actions day after day, month after month, year after year, and suddenly people begin calling your success extraordinary. What they call extraordinary is often nothing more than ordinary discipline repeated consistently. Think about building a brick wall. No one places one brick and expects a finished structure. The strength of the wall comes from placing each brick carefully in its proper position until, over time, something remarkable begins to appear. Your habits work exactly the same way. Every positive habit is another brick. Every disciplined decision is another brick. Every promise you keep to yourself is another brick. Eventually, you build a life that is strong enough to support your biggest dreams. The challenge is that we live in a world that celebrates instant results. We want quick success, quick wealth, quick recognition, and quick change. We are often impatient with the slow process of becoming better. But nature doesn't hurry, and yet it accomplishes everything. Great accomplishments require time because great character cannot be rushed. Imagine two people beginning at exactly the same place. One chooses to improve just 1% every day. The other decides to wait until they feel motivated before making any changes. At first, there doesn't seem to be much difference between them. Days pass. Weeks pass. The gap is almost invisible. But after months and years, that small daily improvement has compounded into something enormous. One person has become wiser, healthier, more skilled, and more confident, while the other is still waiting for the perfect moment to begin. The difference wasn't talent. The difference wasn't luck. The difference was daily discipline. Sometimes people ask why life seems to reward certain individuals with perfect timing. The answer is often simpler than they realize. Those individuals didn't create success in one day. They simply refused to waste the ordinary days. While others were waiting, they were learning. While others were complaining, they were improving. While others were distracted, they were building habits that quietly prepared them for future opportunities. Never underestimate the importance of today's decisions simply because today's results appear small. A tiny change in direction may seem meaningless at first, but over a long journey, it can completely change your destination. One good habit leads to another. One good decision builds confidence for the next. Success isn't usually created by massive actions performed occasionally. It is created by small actions performed consistently. There will be days when you don't feel inspired. There will be mornings when discipline feels difficult. There will be moments when progress seems invisible. Those are the days that matter most. Anyone can stay committed when everything is exciting. Real growth happens when you continue doing the right thing, even when you don't immediately see the reward. Remember, every successful person has ordinary days just like everyone else. The difference is what they choose to do with those days. They understand that each sunrise offers another chance to place another brick, learn another lesson, improve another skill, and move one step closer to their goals. Don't become discouraged because your progress seems slow. Slow progress is still progress. Keep planting good seeds through your daily actions, and eventually the harvest will arrive. The timing of success is often determined by the consistency of your effort, not the intensity of a single moment, and when your daily discipline has prepared you well, you'll discover that there comes a moment when waiting is no longer the answer. It is time to act with confidence and seize the opportunity before you. Preparation is essential. Understanding the seasons of life is essential. Building consistent daily habits is essential. But there comes a point when all of those things must lead to one final decision, the decision to act. Because no amount of preparation can change your life if you never step forward when the opportunity arrives. Many people spend their entire lives waiting for what they call the perfect time. They tell themselves they'll start the business when the economy improves. They'll write the book when they have more confidence. They'll apply for the promotion when they know just a little more. They'll begin investing when they earn more money. They'll chase their dream when life becomes less complicated. But if you wait for every condition to become perfect, you'll discover something disappointing. That day never comes. The perfect moment is often an illusion. Life doesn't reward endless hesitation. It rewards thoughtful action. There is wisdom in preparing carefully, but there is also danger in preparing forever. At some point, preparation can become another form of procrastination. Instead of helping you move forward, it becomes an excuse to stay where you are because staying where you are feels safe. Fear has a clever way of disguising itself as wisdom. It whispers, wait a little longer, learn one more thing. You're not ready yet. What if you fail? Those thoughts sound reasonable, but if you listen to them for too long, they begin stealing years from your life. Before you know it, opportunities have passed, not because you lacked ability, but because you lacked the courage to begin. Think about learning to swim. You can read every book ever written about swimming. You can watch countless videos. You can study every technique. But eventually, you have to step into the water. The real learning begins when theory meets action. Life works the same way. Knowledge becomes valuable only when it is applied. This doesn't mean acting recklessly. Successful people don't leap blindly into every opportunity. They gather information, they prepare, they evaluate the risks. But once they have enough knowledge to make a wise decision, they stop waiting and start moving. They understand that certainty rarely comes before action. Confidence often arrives after you've taken the first step. One reason action is so powerful is because movement creates clarity. Standing still rarely answers your questions. Action does. You may discover that your original plan needs adjustment. You may encounter unexpected obstacles. You may even experience temporary failure. But every step teaches you something valuable. Every attempt makes you wiser than you were before. People often fear making mistakes. Yet mistakes are some of life's greatest teachers. A mistake made while moving forward is usually far more valuable than years spent standing still doing nothing. Failure gives you experience. Experience gives you wisdom. Wisdom gives you better decisions. That's how growth happens. Imagine someone who spends 10 years waiting for the perfect business idea while another person starts with an imperfect idea, learns from customers, improves gradually, and keeps adapting. At the end of those 10 years, who has the greater advantage? Usually, it's the one who was willing to begin before everything was perfect. Remember, timing is not about predicting the future with complete accuracy. It's about recognizing when preparation has done its job. There comes a moment when additional planning produces diminishing returns. That's when courage must take over. Every meaningful achievement requires crossing the bridge between thinking and doing. Dreams remain dreams until action gives them life. Goals remain words on paper until consistent effort turns them into reality. Potential remains hidden until someone decides to use it. Don't allow fear of failure to become greater than your desire for growth. Every successful person you admire has faced uncertainty. Every leader has made difficult decisions without knowing exactly how everything would unfold. They weren't fearless. They simply refused to let fear make the final decision. Ask yourself an honest question. Is there something you've been preparing for that you've been postponing simply because you're waiting for perfect conditions? If the answer is yes, perhaps today is the day to trust your preparation. Perhaps today is the day to take that first conversation, submit that application, launch that idea, make that phone call, or begin that project you've carried in your heart for so long. Because opportunities have a habit of rewarding those who are willing to step through the door while it is still open. Preparation gets you to the doorway, but only action carries you into the next chapter of your life. And even if your first step doesn't go exactly as planned, remember that every setback carries a lesson capable of preparing you for an even greater opportunity ahead. The moment you decide to take action, something else becomes inevitable. We'll encounter setbacks. No matter how carefully you prepare, no matter how disciplined you become, and no matter how wisely you choose your timing, life will still present disappointments. Plans won't always work as expected. Some opportunities will slip away. Some people will reject your ideas. Some efforts will fail completely. The question is not whether setbacks will come. The question is what you will do when they arrive. Many people see failure as a stop sign. Successful people see it as a teacher. Think about a child learning to walk. No parent expects the child to stand up once and never fall again. Falling is not evidence that the child cannot walk. Falling is simply part of learning how to walk. Yet somehow, as adults, we forget this lesson. We experience one failure and immediately begin questioning our ability, our future, or even our worth. We allow one difficult moment to define an entire journey. But every setback carries information. When something doesn't work, life is giving you feedback. Perhaps your strategy needs adjustment. Perhaps your skills need improvement. Perhaps your patience needs strengthening. Maybe the opportunity wasn't right for that season of your life. Whatever the reason, every challenge contains a lesson that can make you stronger if you're willing to learn from it. One of the greatest advantages successful people have is not that they fail less. It is that they learn faster. They don't spend months blaming circumstances or complaining about unfair situations. Instead, they ask better questions. What can this experience teach me? What would I do differently next time? How can I become better because of this? Those questions transform disappointment into development. Imagine a sculptor working with a large block of stone. To an observer, every strike of the hammer may seem destructive. Pieces are breaking away, dust is flying everywhere. It appears as though the sculptor is ruining the stone. But the sculptor sees something different. Every strike removes what doesn't belong and reveals the masterpiece hidden inside. Life often shapes us the same way. Difficult experiences remove pride, impatience, fear, and weakness. They reveal strength, wisdom, humility, and resilience that could not have developed any other way. Some of the most valuable lessons in life are learned during seasons you never would have chosen for yourself. Success teaches you what worked. Failure teaches you why it worked or why it didn't. Both are valuable. But failure often teaches the deeper lesson. There are people who achieve success very quickly, only to lose it because they had never developed the character to sustain it. Then there are people who struggled for years, faced rejection after rejection, yet eventually built lasting success because every setback made them wiser. The delay became their advantage. The obstacle became their classroom. This is why timing is so important. Sometimes what feels like a delay is actually preparation in disguise. What feels like rejection may be protection from something that wasn't meant for you. What appears to be a closed door may simply be directing you toward one that better matches your abilities and purpose. Of course, setbacks are painful. No one enjoys disappointment. No one celebrates failure while they are experiencing it. But pain does not have to become permanent. Temporary defeat only becomes permanent when you decide to stop trying. As long as you're willing to learn, adjust, and continue moving forward, no setback has the final word. One of the most dangerous habits is allowing failure to become part of your identity. Saying I failed is very different from saying I am a failure. One describes an event. The other becomes a belief. Protect your beliefs carefully because your beliefs shape your future decisions. If you believe every setback is a lesson instead of a life sentence, you'll continue growing long after others have given up. Remember that every person you admire has faced moments of doubt, disappointment, and defeat. The difference is that they refused to let those moments define them. They collected lessons instead of excuses. They gathered wisdom instead of bitterness. They became stronger because they chose to respond rather than surrender. So the next time life doesn't unfold according to your plan, don't ask only why it happened. Ask what it can teach you. Every challenge you overcome adds another layer of strength to your character, another measure of wisdom to your judgment, and another reason to believe that your greatest opportunities may still be ahead. Because once you've learned to turn setbacks into stepping stones, you stop waiting for opportunities to appear. You begin creating opportunities wherever you go. After everything we've explored, one final lesson brings all the others together. Prepare for opportunities. Respect the seasons of life. Build consistent daily habits. Take action when the time is right. Learn from every setback. But don't spend your entire life sitting on the sidelines waiting for opportunity to knock on your door. Sometimes the greatest opportunities are not found. They are created. Many people live with the belief that success belongs to the lucky. They wait for someone to discover them. They hope the right person will appear, the perfect job will become available, or the ideal circumstances will suddenly change everything. While they wait, years quietly pass by. But those who accomplish extraordinary things often understand a different principle. They don't simply wait for favorable conditions. They become the kind of people who create favorable conditions wherever they go. Think about the difference between a passenger and a driver. The passenger waits for someone else to decide the destination, choose the route, and control the speed. The driver accepts responsibility for the journey. In life, too many people choose to be passengers. They allow circumstances, opinions, and fear to determine where their lives will go. But the moment you decide to take responsibility for your future, you step into the driver's seat. Creating opportunities begins with improving yourself. Every new skill you learn increases your value. Every meaningful relationship you build expands your possibilities. Every book you read broadens your perspective. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your confidence. These may seem like ordinary actions, but together they create extraordinary momentum. Consider someone who dreams of starting a business. One person spends years saying, "I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity." Another spends that same time studying successful businesses, learning communication, understanding finances, meeting experienced people, and improving leadership skills. When an opportunity finally appears, or when they decide to create one, the second person is ready. From the outside, people call it lucky timing. But in reality, luck simply meant preparation and initiative. The same principle applies to every area of life. If you want better relationships, become a better communicator. If you want greater financial freedom, become more disciplined with money. If you want leadership opportunities, become someone who solves problems instead of creating them. Instead of asking what life owes you, ask what value you can bring to others. Value has a way of attracting opportunities. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is looking for possibilities where others see obstacles. Every problem in the world is also an opportunity for someone willing to solve it. Businesses are built because they solve problems. Careers grow because people become dependable problem solvers. Leaders emerge because they step forward when others hesitate. This requires a shift in mindset. Stop asking, "Why isn't this happening for me?" Start asking, "What can I create with what I already have?" You may not have perfect resources, but you probably have more than you realize. You have your time. You have your ability to learn. You have your experiences. You have your character. You have your willingness to improve. Those are powerful resources when used wisely. Remember that opportunities often begin as small conversations, simple ideas, or unexpected introductions. That's why relationships matter. Treat people with respect. Be reliable. Keep your word. Offer help without expecting immediate rewards. Sometimes the opportunity you've been praying for arrives through a person you've already met but haven't yet served with excellence. At the same time, remain flexible. The opportunity that changes your life may not look exactly the way you imagined. It may arrive disguised as extra responsibility, a difficult challenge, or a chance that seems too small to matter. Many great achievements begin with humble beginnings. Don't ignore small doors because you're waiting for a grand entrance. Most importantly, never stop becoming better. The world continues to change, and those who continue learning continue growing. Your greatest investment will never be the stock market, real estate, or any business venture. Your greatest investment is always yourself. Skills can open doors, knowledge can create solutions, character can sustain success. No one can take those things away from you. As you look back on everything we've discussed, you'll notice that timing isn't something you can completely control, but you can control your preparation. You can control your attitude. You can control your habits. You can control your willingness to act. You can control how you respond to setbacks. And you can choose every single day to become someone who creates opportunities instead of waiting for them. When you live that way, timing no longer feels like luck. It becomes the natural meeting point between preparation, patience, discipline, courage, resilience, and purposeful action. And that's when life begins to reward you in ways that once seemed impossible. The right time isn't something you wait for. It's something you help create by the person you choose to become every single day.